Welcome to the Green Wisdom Health Podcast with Dr. Stephen and Janet Lewis, where you will learn about natural solutions to common ailments. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. Stephen and Janet Lewis.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And we are here to help you with all of your weight loss and thyroid questions I know that you have. This week's episode is called The Thyroid's Connection to Weight Loss, because many of you out there are struggling with weight loss, and it is the season for bikinis. So we want to make sure that we're able to get into those and look really good. So we're going to tell you today some shortcuts, or maybe some long cuts, to getting that body back the way you want it to be, and what the thyroid has to do with it, because we all know the thyroid's got everything to do with weight loss, doesn't it, Dr. Lewis?
I don't know about everything, but it's certainly a huge player there.
So what is it you would like for us to learn today about thyroid? What has it got to do with you losing weight?
Well, first of all, it usually is the thyroid, and the statistics vary depending on the book you read or the research or the doctor you talk to, but I'd say about 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 people that we do our low-cost lab work on, probably 3/4 of them have a suboptimal thyroid.
Well, wait a minute. When you say low-cost lab work, why do you run lab work? I mean, don't the doctor do it? I mean, haven't they been told they're okay? I mean, why do you do that? I'm just asking.
Okay.
Asking for a friend.
Well, I love the whole profession, the medical profession, chiropractic. Me being a chiropractor, of course, I look at it more holistically, structure, function, nerve supply. But let me just tell you a story. There's this really wonderful medical doctor that came in. He wanted to talk to us, and Janet and I was off gallivanting around the country like we do a lot in the RV. And Janet, my sweet darling little wife, says, I do not want to talk to this MD. I said, I'll talk to him. He's a nice guy. I've never met an MD that wasn't a nice person and have good intentions. And so he came in. He was, and he's a real quiet, shy, soft-spoken, very, very nice man. He says, you're getting our patients well, and we don't understand how you're doing it. And I said, well, God's a lot smarter than you and me, and we're trying to help people. We're just doing it differently. I just throw in nutrients that your body uses for the greater good. And he says, okay. And so I asked Janet to go get this particular lab. And once she got here, my sweet wife said she didn't want to talk to this MD. But I said, oh, now that you're here, would you tell this doctor about thyroid? And she gave me the look.
I have no idea what the look is. You wives out there have no idea what the look is.
Anyway, this lady had a 3-point-something on her TSH, and that's what most people run, TSH, which is not thyroid. That is the thyroid-stimulating hormone that comes out of the pituitary in the brain. And it was a 3, and the range goes up to a 4.5. And Janice said, what would you do with this person? He says, nothing. She's my patient, too. I don't do anything. It's well within the range. It's normal. And I'm thinking it's not normal, it's common. There is a difference. And Janet says, well, if it doesn't go down around 1.5, that means the brain's putting out the signal and the thyroid's not using it, and she will be overweight, can't lose weight, and be thyroid crazy. And he said, I've noticed in my practice it has to be about a 2 or below before people can begin to lose weight. And then Janet said, what would you do with this T3 uptake, which was a 27? He says, nothing. That's within the range from 24 to 35. And Janet says, well, that's usually environmental estrogen mimickers, which we'll get to the toxins and why that stops or slows our weight loss. She says, why is it it's okay down to a 24, but holy Jesus, you got to treat it at a 23? She said, it's just degrees of stress caused by estrogen mimicking, plastics, pesticides, fire retardants, etc. And if she's got this lady will be thyroid crazy. You can't live with her. She'll be fat and can't lose weight, and she'll have no desire for sex. And the guy, wonderful man, uncrossed his arms, took his glasses off, leaned across the desk, and looked at Janet in the eyes and said, can I bring my wife in to see you?
Yeah, and the reason I knew that was a problem is because of my own personal health issues, of them telling me that my thyroid was right from a hysterectomy. They looked at it and said, oh, no, your thyroid looks great. I thought, then why am I a size 12 And I've gone from 130 pounds up to 149 in like 6 months. I thought there is something not right here, but that's fine, which led me on a journey to figure out why. And like Dr. Lewis said, the different parts of the thyroid, the TSH is just your brain getting
giving the signal.
Yes, getting a signal. That's not your true thyroid function. My thyroid function, which it probably don't mean much to you right now, but when I had my lab run, it was a 2.8 free T3. It looks okay. That looks in the normal range, but I was huge at that point. Optimizing it to over 3 caused me to go back down to a size 6'8" and back to my 130-pound weight. So that is a huge difference on a marker that doesn't look that big.
And I'm confused here because I used to tell people, well, Janice, 5'4", 132 pounds. She says, Stephen, I'm not that fat. Of course, that
exactly,
might have been when she was thyroid crazy, but I would never say that.
And that's what it causes. It causes things like slow metabolism, heart functions not right, so you have heart palpitations, poor digestion, so you have more constipation issues. You have a lack of energy. And so many people are suffering with that right now. It's like no energy. Their appetite's not good.
But there's another part to that, though. Usually if you feel better after exercise, you probably have a low thyroid. Well, you just said low energy. What's the other part of that? The other part is if you feel worse after exercise, that's usually a sign of your adrenals having poor function.
Oh, interesting.
And you have to nourish and correct adrenal function before taking on your thyroid healing, because the thyroid will not heal until you have your adrenals working. They run off of each other. They call it the HPA axis, hypothalamus, thyroid, pituitary.
You know, that's cool. That's why I like
adrenal.
Why I like listening, aka being a part of the show, because I learn things from you that I've never heard before. He's like this little dictionary of knowledge. It's
usually it's like Marlon Perkins.
I've never heard that about the exercise thing. About what is it again? If you want to exercise?
Well, if you feel better after exercise, you probably have a low thyroid. But if you feel worse, it's probably you need to heal your adrenals. And the problem is, here's the issue, folks. If you want to get well, you have to commit time to it, because not everybody gets well because there are limitations physiologically. There's limitations to time, and you have to give your body time. And people, unfortunately, people quit way too soon. It usually takes a couple of years just to fix your adrenals, because you have to get rid of a lot of the stressors, which can be mental that you create yourself, but it's many times it's mold. You don't know you're getting it. It's the story we tell about us being crop dusted in Mississippi and Louisiana 2 different times. Thyroid, things that cause thyroid inflammation, or the cytokines that create that, and an unrelenting cytokine storm can lead to cancer and a lot of other things. The best thing you can do for your thyroid is give up grains. And people say, no. I had a friend says, well, the United States Department of Agriculture says you should eat 6 to 11 servings of grain per day. Of course, he was about 100 pounds more than me, 10 years younger, and sitting on a heart attack. And I said, when you had your FFA calf, what did you do to make it fat? He said, fed it grain. He said, oh, crap, you caught me. And I told him, I said, you're sitting on a heart attack. Now, keep in mind, I'm not an MD, but about 3 weeks later, when he had his heart attack, which he refuses to say heart attack, he calls it instant, his girlfriend says, please don't tell him I told you so. And I said, I'm going to rub his nose in it. Grain is not good for you. Those books have been written, and you have to get rid of grain. There's no such thing as almost gluten-free. And I had a sweet, darling lady say, well, you can get Ezekiel bread. It's gluten-free. It's like, really?
No, I looked at them yesterday. They're not gluten-free.
I know, but I couldn't tell her. She's a sweetheart. Processed junk food, which is most of us. And I have people say, well, I can't lose weight and I'm taking all your supplements. Well, you got to change the way you eat. You have to change what you eat. You have to change how much you eat. You have to be realistic. And that's why I quit friending patients on Facebook, is because they would show me pictures of their Cinnabon or their meals that they're eating, and then they gripe at me about not losing weight. And it's like, you eat 14 times more than I do. I mean, artificial sweeteners and colors. You know, people say, well, a sweet, darling lady down around Port Neches, I just talked to her a couple of days ago. She says, well, I'm taking this supplement, and, you know, I'll quit it if you want me to, which I love you, Melinda, for being that way. But, you know, what you're taking has aspartame or sucralose in it, which actually tricks the brain into depositing 4 times more fat than sugar, and sugar's not good for you, and high fructose corn syrup is horrible for you.
Wait. You're talking so fast today. This is not... I know. It's like, man, you're putting out information here that I'm not absorbing well. What did you say about sucralose again? Slow it down the Texas way, please.
You want me to talk like Sam Elliott, but my voice won't go that low.
Yeah. Tell me about sucralose actually being worse for you than sugar.
Oh, big time. It tricks your brain. It causes neuroexcitatory hormones, and it causes you to want more and more and more and more, and basically helps or forces or stimulates your body to put down 4 times more fat than sugar. And sugar, we eat way too much here in America. But
okay, so is that like diet drinks?
The worst you can do. If you're going to drink a drink the one with high fructose corn syrup in it, and that is not good for you.
Interesting. So all these people think they're losing weight doing diet drinks and things with sucralose.
Well, if it says diet, you need to stay the heck away from it. And, you know, tap water, contaminants. Hey, folks, people say, but I'm drinking well water. I said, have you ever tested it? And, you know, at one point we lived in a place, had 300-foot wells, and people say, do you drink the well water? I said, not until it goes through reverse osmosis. And they said, why? I said, because I've got a friend that's a dairy farmer 4 miles away. I don't know what he's putting into water that's coming to us.
And that was another thing I learned from you just this weekend. You talk about tap water. This is, you know, it don't have anything to do with weight loss, but it does have to do with wildlife and tap water. I was buying this expensive sugar stuff to give our hummingbirds because they're coming up now, and you go through it really fast when you get a lot of hummingbirds. We live on the lake. And Dr. Lewis said, just buy some sugar and put it in water and give it to them. Well, I was reading the recipe because I'm OCD. I have to do it right. And it said...
Yeah, she can't vary a recipe. No. It's like, well, you married me. That's variable in
That was
itself.
all I could handle. And it said to boil the water before with the sugar, you know, boil the water and then put the sugar in there, I guess, and let it dissolve. And I thought, oh my God, this is time consuming. Maybe I should just buy the expensive stuff. And Dr. Lewis said, why are you boiling the water? And I said, because it said to. He said, well, that's if you're using tap water. Because it's even contaminating the hummingbirds. Yeah. And people know that, so it kills them. And so he said, if you'll just use reverse osmosis.
And don't use the one with the red dye. That's not good for the hummingbirds.
Yeah. And it's like, well, even they tell you that knowing it's killing the birds. But we're over here drinking that like it's fine.
Yeah, if you understood what fluoride did, you'd revolt against the government. I'm not saying you should, but you would.
Go ahead.
Vegetable oil. Horribly inflammatory. It causes these cells to become rigid, and that's why fish oil, borage oil, flaxseed oil, some of the other ones, and it has to be a good quality, but they make the cells more flexible rather than the corn. Canola is poison. If you know, that's why fried foods are so bad for you. But the vegetable oil causes your cell walls to be rigid, and then you become insulin resistant. Now, there's books written on the reason you're fat is because you have insulin resistance, and I don't mean to be offensive by saying that word, but I'm here to help you, and if I can say something that will change your life, and thank you folks that's been giving us reviews on Google, and the 3 that lined up to do videos, and I think there's 3 or 4 more coming. Brian was the first one to do it. God,
he was awesome.
I loved him before, and then Alan from Maine. Oh my God, this guy's incredible. And then we get Debbie from Midland, Texas, and that's a long way from here. Debbie said, well, my first one's 14 minutes long, but I was telling stories about me and you growing up, how you were quite the rascal. I said, okay.
Probably best that didn't make it all the way through.
Yeah, she grew up with me and still trusts me as a doctor. Thank you, Debbie. I love you dearly.
But you would not believe what that's done for people to inspire them to get help, because we tell people this all day long, but it's like, oh yeah, you're selling something.
Yeah, we are. We're selling good health.
Yeah, but to have people that it's changed their lives, and they're kind enough to put that on Google for us, or a video.
We got one coming from Eric down in Port Neches, Texas, and we got one coming from Brenda, who's here local, and we're talking about videos.
Yeah, and it's like, well, we have new people that are calling in now, and they're like, well, I've watched some of these videos, and that is so cool. So you are inspiring other people to get help and health, even if you can't do it in your own family circle, which we all have problems with.
And Kara from Indiana said she would do it too. And the thing is, she says, well, I'm telling everybody I can. I said, yeah, well, you're influencing people you don't even know to get better, to get healthier. We need to walk through this life together and be kind and be happy and lift each other up.
And let people have health to the best degree they can, because this is hard enough. And when you feel bad, you're depressed. You don't see the point. There is a point.
I'm writing a new I said PowerPoint, but my preacher says that they don't exist anymore. But I'm writing one basically why, if you're a Christian, why you should be healthier than the rest of the people. Not that we can't get sick too. And the thing is that we were offered to be on national platforms, that's plural platforms, to give this talk. So we'll see.
Pray for him. If you're out there listening, pray for him.
Yeah, I got to rein in some of my thoughts.
No, they have to be Christian thoughts. They have to make sure that's why we're calling in a preacher, because we're not sure what you quote sometimes, because I think it's scripture, but it's
sometimes it's Job and sometimes it's Shakespeare.
Sometimes it's a distorted scripture.
It's a Texasism. But, the point is that we should all help each other. So for those of you that's helping us to help others by inspiring them, God bless you and keep you safe and healthy. And thank you for the maple syrup, Alan from Maine. You're awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. The candy.
He said I could put it on Bluebell.
We're only doing it in small portions.
Other things are plasticizers. That's drinking from bottled water. And it's not that we don't do that, but we, for the most part, just do reverse osmosis. Dairy, which is the casein, the protein in dairy. Soy and soybean foods. That also includes the...
Is this what stops thyroid?
Yeah, it causes the cytokine storm, undiagnosed infections. H. pylori. Why would you have H. pylori? Because you don't have enough stomach acid. Why don't you have enough stomach acid? Because they poo-pooed salt years ago, and you need the chloride to make hydrochloric acid. And if you have higher hydrochloric acid, even though you have the symptoms of it, you really almost always it's too low. But if the hydrochloric acid is higher, then you're going to be able to kill H. pylori, Lyme disease and parasites and strep, and all those can create cytokine storms in the thyroid too.
And you won't be bloated. That's a sign of H. pylori, is that you're completely bloated and you can't go to the bathroom. You're very constipated.
And water hurts your stomach. If you drink water and it hurts your stomach, you can always go to your MD and get the H. pylori test. And, there's, they have drugs for that. We use supplements that, according to the FDA, we can't cure anything. But, if you throw it in there, God can.
But you're saying like increasing your hydrochloric acid, like we use betaine hydrochloric acid on a lot of patients here.
Yeah, digestive essentials and betaine hydrochloric acid if it's super low. And you can see that on chloride on the lab.
Speed your bowel movements up.
Yep. And we're going to get to that too. Other things that can hurt your thyroid and actually cause inability to lose weight is exercising vigorously. Oh no, you're supposed to exercise. Yeah, but not vigorously, because some people don't give your body time to heal after breaking down that. Imbalanced hormones, I could go on and on and on and on and on about that. And that's the endocrine disrupting, estrogen mimicking, plastics, pesticides, and all that. And Janet said the other day, God, is there not a man left in the world? There are
no Sam Elliott's, and there's no more Clint Eastwood. There's no more John Wayne's. I mean, they're so rare.
There's not that much masculinity left. Well, it's because most men have low testosterone, and that takes a long time to clean your body out so you can begin to make more of it.
That's true, because we see on lab how low the testosterone is in young men, and Brandy that works for us here, she sees the lab as it comes through too, and then her grandfather sent his lab in, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, his testosterone's high." She goes, "Why is his so high and no one else has high testosterone?" I said, "Because of the age. Actually, the older man has higher testosterone."
Yeah, but they usually have not enough free, so that's why we check that and check DHEA. We do a lot of checking, but people that smoke cigarettes, alcohol, especially in excess, fluoride messes with it. Most white breads, no, that's not true. Most bread, if it's not gluten-free, I would avoid it like crazy. So,
well, the reason they want bread to start with is usually because they're full of yeast and they have leaky gut.
Oh, leaky gut. I was going to get to that, which I got so many notes here I won't get to about 90% of it. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. But one of the things you should do, and the Saccharomyces boulardii.
What is that?
That is a good yeast that goes in. It does not colonize in your GI tract. It grabs, it hugs candida, bad bacteria, yeast, fungus, virus, hugs it, and when you have your bowel movement, as we increase bowel motility, it carries out some of the things, and this does interfere with weight loss. This does interfere with proper thyroid function. I've seen people that were dying from C. diff infection, and again, I'm not saying any of this cures anything. I'm not going to go there, but I've put them on massive doses of Saccharomyces boulardii, and within 3 or 4 days, they say, "Oh my God, you saved my life." I said, "No, God did. You're just giving him something to work with." And I get in trouble for saying God, but I guess I'm not going to stop.
Well, that's over or coming off an antibiotic use too, right? It's got something to do with using Saccharomyces.
Yeah, and you know why I'm so smart about this? Because I had some bad antibiotics, and I had to after a bad spider bite. Well, for 6 years, I bled out of fingertips, armpits, and places I won't talk about for 6 years. And Janet and I got really good at this because it was either that or me croak. And thank God Janet is a good nursemaid and very patient and nice to look at too. But the other thing, we're talking about bowel movements. One of the things that absolutely most people could really, really benefit from is increasing bowel motility.
A lot of people don't understand what you're talking about, bowel motility. Folks, if you're eating 3 meals a day, there should be 3 trains or bowel movements coming through. So if you had 3 trains that go through a tunnel, are you getting 3 that come out on the other side? Are you getting 1? Are you getting 1 every 4 or 5 days? Or
maybe all the trains don't come through, or the cars, and it's left behind. Well, that's where the digestive enzymes come in. So
that's
we have something
gut
that most people really, I'm talking about the large majority, should do, the modal soothe. And it has artichoke leaf extract in it. And this is a relatively mild product, but it stimulates bowel secretion. Well, what's it going to do? It's going to help your liver work more effectively to get rid of the toxins. And we had Casey on here one time talking about the 2-hydroxy, 4-hydroxy, 16-hydroxy detoxification pathway, so I won't go into that. But it enhances the liver function. It helps restore gut motility and improve digestion. And the other thing it has in it is ginger root. Hey, let me talk about ginger root for just a minute. I love ginger root, and the Asians were right when they started using it thousands and thousands of years ago. It helps fight inflammation, cleanses the colon, reduces spasms and cramps, stimulates circulation, strong antioxidant, an effective antimicrobial agent. Protects the liver, the stomach, useful for bowel disorders, circulatory problems, arthritis, fever, headache, hot flashes. And men, if your wife has a hot flash, don't talk about it. You might be a flash in a pan if you do that.
You sure might. You need to keep that air cold at night, too.
Indigestion, so that's why after a meal, most people of Asian descent will cut off a piece of ginger and eat it. So the modal soothe is a kick butt, no pun intended, thing to do. The Saccharomyces boulardii, I take some pretty much every day. It's really incredible. And that, once you take away the burden of the excess toxins, your thyroid's freed up to use the vitamins and minerals that it needs, which we sell a lot of what's called thyroid essentials. but it's got the A, C, and E, the good ones. It's got the zinc. It's got the iodine. And yes, there's plenty of research that says even if you have Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid autoimmune disease, that up to 200 micrograms is safe. And I know there's some controversy about that. I've had really, really good luck, even with Hashimoto's, putting people on this Thyroid Essentials. They've done real good. The zinc is the Trax vitamin, which means up to, or Trax mineral, up to 20 times more absorbable. It's got the selenium. Read about selenium. I eat pumpkin seeds for zinc and Brazil nuts for selenium, and I take zinc and selenium on top of that, and my MD says my prostate's the size of a 25-year-old. And it's got N-acetylcysteine, tyrosine, ashwagandha, guggul resin, which really helps the cholesterol profile. Turmeric root. Wow.
Now,
why would you do turmeric root?
Is that something that someone can just take without lab?
Yes.
So that's a safe product that they could take without having to have lab work run?
Yeah, and it's real important because these vitamins and minerals, they're not just for thyroid, even though that's kind of what it's targeting, things that the thyroid needs.
I will tell you that one does give you energy, though. You probably don't want to take it at night, right?
It gives you energy because you're high-functioning, what is it?
High-functioning anxiety.
I didn't say it, folks. And it's got turmeric, and it's like, well, what's turmeric got to do with thyroid? You know, me being a chiropractor, I used to put gobs of people on turmeric because of the anti-inflammatory effects on the musculoskeletal system, but other things it does. Turmeric fights free radicals. We need more of that, and protects the liver against different toxins, helps it detox much more quickly, and inhibits platelet aggregation, which means you're going to have a healthier cardiovascular system. It is anti-inflammatory in the way that it decreases COX-2 enzyme. You know, that's a deep study. I won't go there, but it's really, really good for arthritic conditions, and that's why I started using it as a chiropractor. But it has shown to be stop proliferation of rapidly dividing cancer cells. I'm not saying it's curing cancer, folks, but if you throw it in there, that's why we change the oil in our car before it start smoking. Janet's got a really good analogy about that. You can read about it later. But it's super, super good. Even helps with psoriasis and somewhat in Alzheimer's, and that's why I take that every night so I can have good cognitive brain function. Hopefully it's working.
It is. So you talked about detox for weight loss. How do you detox for weight loss?
Well, that's different for, we've talked about a lot of it. I use the Enviro Detox because it has the zeolite clay, which bonds to a lot of different toxins. It has activated charcoal, the shilajit, which is Prima-V, which is the good one, which is basically it's fulvic acid and humic acid, and that'll bind toxins like crazy.
So pulling off the toxins and being free from things that make you crave bad stuff will help.
Yeah, and the Saccharomyces does that too because as it kills yeast.
You'll notice you don't want bread as much, right?
Yeah, bread, Bluebell, Snickers, soft drinks, because it's really that lowers your zinc and that messes with your taste. So you want to stimulate those taste buds, and that's why we mentioned aspartame and sucralose. And it really, really helps. Actually, I eat about 90% less sugar than I used to because I don't have the yeast. But as I've told a lot of people, if you have too much yeast, you get brain fog because yeast will steal your thiamine or put out an enzyme to stop your thiamine that you don't get enough of anyway. And when I put people on things for that, they'll call me within 2 days to 2 weeks and say, oh my God, my brain fog's gone.
Yeah, and I know women out there, one of the first things they come in and tell me is that, oh, my fingernails are cracking, my skin is cracked, my menstrual cycles are heavy or they're real irregular, a lot of really heavy cycles. Some
of those are anemic then, which compounds the problem.
Or their bones are brittle, like they break bones easily. Those are things that you can tell on the outside mostly, that you may have a problem with your thyroid, right?
Yeah, and it takes time. There's the thing, it can take 2 years to fix fatigued adrenals. It takes time, folks. The people that win are the ones that don't stop digging when they're 3 feet from goal. They keep going. And that's why one of our podcasts, we said, for those that want to get well on the 11th hour, usually die at 10:30. You got to keep trying. Every day you're up here. Our job is to help you be healthy enough and have the energetic outlook on life so that you can feel good, so that you can go get more accomplished, so you can be a better husband, father, grandfather, doctor in my case.
So you mean taking stuff for 1 week and then feeling good a few days, and then you get a few days that are bad? You don't stop?
I filled up my truck last week. I'll never have to fill it up again, huh? I know I have stupid analogies, but still, it's consistent action that always wins. Always.
And, Dr. Lewis talks about these tests. I'm telling you, these tests are not something your doctor generally runs. They're going to give you a TSH. I can't tell you how many times we've seen a TSH. When we run the lab work, and we do it across the United States, so it's not like you have to come to Texas to do it. You not only get a TSH, you get the T3 uptake like he was talking about. You get 5 different parts of the thyroid, not just a TSH. And for those of you that have been told you may have Hashimoto's or an autoimmune problem with your thyroid, we can add that thyroid peroxidase antibody on to the lab to see what it's doing. And we actually have products that'll help stabilize your immune system.
And then from my perspective, your musculoskeletal system. Hey, this is the thing that holds you up and makes you able to move. Mm-hmm. That gets better.
And cortisol is also a part of that test. So if you heard something in the podcast about exercise and you're thinking, I hadn't heard about cortisol, that's all a part of our test. So go to our website, greenwisdomhealth.com, click on the health survey, fill it out. It will recommend for you the correct lab panel most closely matched to what you filled out. And that way you don't have to guess or just get some things and hope you feel better. And Dr. Lewis, would you like to leave us with any words of wisdom for this week? My God, he's at a loss. No, he's not at a loss. He's never at a loss. Here he comes.
No, I'm never at a loss. There's some scripture that says a wise man foresees danger and takes precautions, but a fool or a simpleton sees the danger and ignores it and suffers the consequences. We're only here for a short time. I think it's very important that we make it where you feel good, where you have that deep restorative sleep, where you wake up with twice as much energy as you had when you wake up, and you have the mental capacity. Oh my God, my anxiety's gone. I can go be a better mother or grandmother or a better sister. This is not about physical health as much as it is about mental and spiritual health too, because you can't separate one from the other two.
Yeah, make life easy again. That's what it does when you have the right stuff.
Yeah, if you focus on the good, it's funny, the universe multiplies it.
Yeah. You guys have a blessed week. We'll be here next time on the Green Wisdom Health Show.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You're only one step away from a life worth living.